Welcome, CineNerds. I am JP Cross.
And I'm Ryan Newhouse. What's going on?
And as always, click that share button, click that subscribe button, click follow, whatever you're listening on, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, if you're watching us on the live chat right now on YouTube, share, write a review, subscribe, follow, do all that little fun stuff to, you know, build us up a bit more.
And JP, by sharing their what?
They're 100% caring.
Absolutely.
Eh,
Yeah, and also, if you go to our shop and our merch link on the CineNerdsPodcast.com, you can check out some of our merchandise that we have available to there that supports not only CineNerds, but it also supports another local business, Seemingly Perfect Designs, who does a great job at taking care of our merch and getting the shirts out there. There's shirts, sweatshirts, coffee mugs, koozies, you name it, it's in there. Check it out.
all kinds of fun stuff in there. And there's our letterboxes in there too, and there's some written reviews, which again I've slacked on putting the written reviews up, but Ryan's always doing written reviews on his letterbox. But I got to start getting those back up on the website as well. So
And I feel like, I'll try and keep those going, but I do feel like the 1 minute reviews and the suggestions are recommendations are definitely taking over in the in place of those as we move forward.
yeah, I've added that onto the website as well from our YouTube. I've added a Reels channel on our CineNerdsPodcast.com, and it's actually the same. It's bouncing off of our Reels from YouTube, so you can also find them there.
Cool. So what are we going over this week?
So Thanksgiving's coming up, and we were looking at different Thanksgiving themed films. And Ryan gave me a list of, excuse me, it gave me a list of a handful of different Thanksgiving themed films. And a couple of them I'd seen, a couple of them I had not seen, and one or two of them I haven't seen in years. Well, probably all of them. I think all of them, for the ones I've seen, I probably haven't seen in years. And so I chose from his list Planes, Trains, and Automobiles because I will be honest with you. I don't think I've seen this film more than one time, and it was years and years ago. It had to be early 90s or late 80s when I saw this film.
It's the same thing here. And also to that credit, I was a kid and I saw it,
Yeah,
and
same.
I had no vested interest in it whatsoever, and I think I turned it off halfway through. So this
I
is really a first watch.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember watching all of it, but I just didn't remember anything about it, which was kind of wild because I love John Candy. I typically watch multiple John Candy movies all the time, nonstop. And this is one that I just did not get into as a kid and watch. And Steve Martin, I've always liked Steve Martin, and there's a lot of his films I've watched a lot. One of my favorite comedies, and I'm pretty sure I actually named it in our top five comedies episode, was The Jerk. I fucking love Steve Martin's The Jerk. And for both of these actors to be in this film, you would think that this would be one that I would have probably watched numerous times, but I just didn't.
Steve Martin and Martin Short most recently are in a series on Hulu with Selena Gomez called Only Murders in the Building. And it's a podcast show where these three unlikely people come together to make a podcast based on solving crimes that are actually happening. So it's a really interesting series. I kind of enjoy it, but going backwards from there, though, like I never, I've always thought Martin Short and Steve Martin are genius together to begin with. Selena Gomez adds a nice little extra dash of spice in there. But going backwards, though, like you said, The Jerk, there's just a multitude of movies. Uncle Buck. I mean, there's so many good movies between the two of these people that I
Mhm.
was like, hey, this can't fail. This is going to be a great movie. And we'll see what I thought.
We're going to see. And it's a John Hughes movie, too.
And you know what? I do like some of the so there's a lot of things that John Hughes did in this movie that I was here for that I thought were really cool little tricks and ways that he works with the actors, but keeps them surprised and genuine.
Yeah, yeah. And that's another thing, I like a lot of John Hughes films. And why I never revisited this one. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out by the end of this episode why I never revisited this movie. But you know, this film had everything that I loved in the '80s. It had John Hughes directing, and it had Steve Martin. It had John Candy. So,
Initial impression.
uh, oh, I lost my notes. Here we are. Initial impressions.
Wait,
So
wait, 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 wait. Hold on before you start. What's on your top of your head? Is that green as well?
yeah,
Because
it's
because your green screen is showing on your hat too, so that's interesting. I'm trying to stay focused, but it's like distracting a little bit.
you see that right there?
Right there,
It's a silhouette of Bigfoot.
outstanding.
This is actually my Jackass Joe's hat. I got in Utah, and yeah, it has a lot of green in it.
Well,
So
if it's on your head, I assumed it was a jackass hat, anyways.
yeah, that's fair.
Ah.
So
Anyways, and
initial reactions is kind of like I just said. This is almost a first time watch. I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid. I remember thinking it was all right. I don't remember ever being like, "Oh, I love this film," and so I never revisited it. And to that point, I don't even rightly think I knew it was a John Hughes film until I watched it this time. That's just kind of my feelings on this film. I didn't know a lot about it, but I remembered watching it as a kid, and that was kind of it.
Um, for me, this was like I said, it's pretty much a first time watch again. I didn't know it was John Hughes film. I didn't know a lot about this film. I didn't even know this was a Thanksgiving oriented film until I read that list and sent those your way. So I was kind of like, it wasn't as heavily vested in the holidays I thought it would be, but it definitely was not. It was not bad.
Yeah, and the Thanksgiving theme to this film is essentially, um, I started to say Martin Sheen, Steve Martin. Steve Martin is trying to get home from New York City to Chicago for Thanksgiving. He's on a business trip, and all the flights are delayed because of a huge snowstorm that is hitting all of the Northeast and Midwest. And keeps running into John Candy's character throughout the whole beginning of this film until they end up riding together and they land. And was it they land in Wichita? Is that where they land?
I believe so
Yeah, I think it's Wichita. They land in Kansas, and
because of the snowstorm.
because of the snowstorm, and so they're trying to get back to Chicago for Thanksgiving, and um, John Candy's character is essentially mooching off of Steve Martin's character and staying with him through this whole ordeal of trying to get back to Chicago. The only thing that is Thanksgiving themed is the fact that he is trying to get back to his family for Thanksgiving. That is it.
And the daughter's Thanksgiving play.
The daughter's Thanksgiving play. Okay.
So interesting cameo in this
I
movie
first
at the
my first note
beginning.
my first note is the cameo.
Yeah, which is weird. It was Kevin Bacon, and it's Kevin Bacon and Steve Martin racing to get to a taxi. And what was weird about it was that this is not like you would think like maybe this would have been like a first time role for Kevin Bacon or something because it was so
Mm-mm.
short. But this is well after Footloose, and this is
Mhm.
I mean he's been in numerous films before this, so this was just literally a cameo, just
This
kind of
this this looks like I didn't check the time period or the dates, but it looks like Kevin Bacon when he did what was it, Whitewater Summer. Kevin Bacon.
yeah, it's an '87 film. This is
It's
so
probably about
it
right then. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because I with his hair and everything, I actually thought I was like, this looks like uh he literally filmed this while he was in New York filming the scenes for Whitewater Summer before he went to the woods to film the rest of that film.
Possible. Um, so Edie McClurg, do you know the name? So
I'm
she
not sure on that one.
she's the actress at the rental car place
Oh, yes,
who's
yes, yes, yes.
who says you're fucked. Interesting little thing with that. So, Mr. Hughes instructed her to basically make this whole scene. So she is pretending she literally pulled from her own life because he didn't expect her to do it so quickly. Uh, she's literally using parts of her own life with her sister and pretending she's on the phone with her sister. They're talking about what they're going to prepare for Thanksgiving. All the while, Steve Martin's getting worked up and he's getting antsy and he's already just had a hell of a day. And that whole sequence, she came forward and said, and I'm only talking about this because again, we just talked about the other cameo. Um, but Edie's, you would know her. She's been a side character in numerous things, but she has people to this day come up to her and request her to say, "You're fucked." And I think that's hilarious.
That was definitely the one of the better scenes in this movie
It is.
was with her. Yeah.
It's more well known for it, and the cool thing about that sequence is it was a minute long, and they said "fuck" 19 times in that 1 minute.
Oh, and yeah, that was a great scene, and, uh, um, Steve Martin is so mad, he walks back and he's all haggard, that whole scene, and he is so mad, and he starts cussing her. As soon as he starts cussing her, you can just see it. She's just like,
Such a
"Yes."
demeanor shift, and it's so funny when he says he doesn't have the voucher, the ticket still 'cause he threw it out. She's like, "Oh, dear." Oh, it's like she almost says like, "It's such a shame because 'cause you're a dick." So,
So after they land in, Wichita, they go get a hotel, and I bring this up because I've done this, and it's actually my second note on this film
you big
is
spooned and kissed someone's ear?
well, that's happened well, not kiss the ear, but the big spoon has happened, but we're not getting into that. Um, the, they're sitting there talking, and they're like, "Oh, you take a shower. No, you take a shower." Well, John Candy takes a shower first, and then when, Steve Martin goes in to take a shower, he goes to get out of the shower, all the towels are soaking wet and thrown everywhere. Stuff is laid out all over the place. You can't step or walk or put anything anywhere because somebody is just a complete slob. And so he goes to grab a towel. There are no more towels. He grabs a one single washcloth to dry his whole body. And I say this because being a touring musician, this has happened to me more than once, and I have dried myself more than once with a fucking washcloth that I was laughing, going, "This is so realistic in this scene."
This is your struggle on tour. This is my struggle daily with my sons in my house. Like, I get out of the shower and I'm like, "Where the fuck the towels go?" And I'm looking over and there's literally a washcloth, and yeah, I've dried myself off of that a multitude of times.
And then I actually wrote my notes directly while he's in the shower. John Candy's on the bed, and it's one of those old vibrating beds. He puts a quarter in, it starts vibrating. Well, they come back to go to sleep, and you hear, John Candy apologizing, going, "I'm sorry, I didn't know the beer would explode." And he's like, "Well, it's a vibrating bed, what'd you expect?" I actually was let down. Why wouldn't they show the beer explode? Why did they just
Well, so there's a multitude of things that were cut out of this. So this movie was originally 3 hours and 40 minutes in total. Uh, the script was 145 pages, and Steve Martin's like, "Are you gonna cut this down?" Because I guess the standard back then was 90 pages for a script
Mhm.
of this nature. So, Hughes looked at him and goes, "What do you mean?" And so Martin knew at that moment he had no intention of cutting it down. However, excuse me, the studio would not obviously run with that at the time for a length of the movie, so they asked for it to be under 2 hours. There is an original cut that's still out there, but I don't know if we'll ever see it. That's 2 hours, where a lot of the stuff was cut and it ended up being an hour and 33 minutes. So the whole sequence of the beer shaking from the vibrating bed and exploding. I guess there's a really big scene at the end. The way this ends, it ends on an emotional speech from John Candy, and John Candy's speech was part of the what was removed because they didn't need it. And I guess it took 5 years for Steve Martin because he was so mad about it. It took him 5 years to get over it before he moved forward with Paramount Plus, and they smoothed it over. But yeah, there's a lot of crucial things that were cut out of this, and I think people are curious to see if we ever get a new release, if what those things look like.
Yeah, there's there's definitely scenes like that, and then that's just one example. You know, it comes up in as like, oh, I'm sorry, your side of the bed's wet because a beer exploded. Well, it never showed it, you know, and there's little things like that throughout this whole film that it's like, well, it feels like something's missing, you know, because
So,
you get it in dialogue, but you don't actually see something that supposedly happens.
well, to further that, apparently when they did the test audiences, they used the 2-hour cut, and so what was received from them when they built the trailer, it has a lot of the deleted scenes in the trailer that we don't get in the movie that you can see in the trailer because they cut those things out. So it's interesting.
Um, I have to ask, what did you watch this on?
Paramount Plus, but it was a fight. Let me tell you, because I had Paramount Plus already, but it's part of another subscription service. But it was like, I think it was like $12 to buy it on Fandango. It was $14 to buy it another place, and it was like $5 to rent here and there. It was a pain in the ass to find this.
Okay, so reason I asked this is because I watched it for free on Pluto TV because
Is
it's about
Pluto free?
Pluto is free. So it's just like Tubi, you know,
Okay.
you have to watch ads, which you know, I don't mind watching ads. I literally my Netflix, my HBO Max, I actually have the subscriptions with ads, so I have the cheap subscriptions. So I don't mind watching ads.
So
But however, I actually put it in my notes 3 fucking times because the ads were so fucking long on Pluto TV and they were fucking nonstop. And I mean 5-minute ads at least 10 times throughout this film. And I was literally multiple notes like Pluto fucking sucks with their
so
fucking ads.
So that's one of the reasons I applaud Tubi. I think anyone that hasn't really dug into Tubi yet is kind of missing out. It's free. There's the ad services, but it's like it's so well balanced that I don't notice and it doesn't bother me. And you know what else I've noticed about Tubi is they also it's like right when you get to the end of a scene that it goes to commercials. It's not like right before the climax moment or
Yeah.
something like some of these others. So
Yeah.
I was
No,
here for that.
no. Pluto was fucking awful for this film and it made this even hard. It made this film a very hard watch because of the ads, and I almost stopped it and rented it because I was just like, I don't know if I can watch this with on
So
Pluto. Like it's the ads are so bad.
So I applaud the companies that are trying to bring us streaming services for free, and I understand they have to make up their money and their marketing and their costs and everything somehow. So I get the ads, but there is a balance that should be walked, and I think again, I'm going to reference Tubi. Tubi balances it well.
Yeah,
So I applaud them, and they should take more note of what Tubi's doing.
yeah, yeah. Now, I don't, I, and I watch Tubi all the time. You guys
Yeah.
know I praise Tubi all the time, and I what their ads don't bother me. But I will tell you right now, if I have to watch something else on Pluto, I will probably go buy it or rent it before I watch it on Pluto again, unless they get their ads under control because it was miserable.
Ugh, that's the worst. So I had a moment where I freaked out yesterday, and I think I need to find a new brand TV. I've been an LG diehard, so my appliances, my TV, my electronics in my house are pretty much LG for the most part. I like the functionality of the app. I like the way it works with everything. However, I just want a fucking TV. I don't want my TV giving me ads, and that's what I like. Anytime my home screen goes into save mode, I've got ads now. I'm like, I don't want to see your fucking ads. I just want to have my TV in my room. Like, what the fuck is this? About jumped out of my fucking chair and fell on the ground the other day because I didn't expect it to come in and it came in with some big bass beat for the commercial. I was like, what?
So after this hotel scene, I, one of my favorite characters in this film, and I don't know who the actor is, but the character's name is Gus, and he is the hotel manager's son that comes and picks him up. You remember this scene
Yes.
where he picks him
The,
up in the
the the
pickup
pickup
truck?
truck. Yeah.
Yeah, he picks him up in the pickup truck, and he's just good old boy that comes out with his wife, and he talks about having his wife. He has his wife come get out of the truck to get their bags. He's like, "Hey, here, get out
She's
here."
strong. She's strong.
She actually says she's strong. One of the babies came out sideways. I lost it. That scene alone, and just that whole little, and it's brief. That whole scene, that whole little segment's only like 30 seconds, I laughed, and it was like one of my favorite little scenes in this whole fucking film with him telling them that she's a stout woman and she's strong, and that one of the babies came out sideways and she still walks. Like,
There's definitely some amazing one-liners in this, and there's definitely some. I understand why there's people put this in their favorites category. Uh, might not necessarily be for me, but it definitely has its moments where I was like, okay, that's funny, that's good.
um, from there they get on a train. Obviously, the train fucks up on them, so they
Well, they have
had
to
to,
get on a train, otherwise it'd just be
yeah.
planes and automobiles.
So then they have to walk from the train. Then they have to try to get a car. He rents a car. Um, that gets to the where he drops off to get his car. The car's missing. He has to go back, and that's the scene we talked about with the car rental place with all the fucks. Of course, John Candy's the one that stole his car. Um, I don't know if he really stole it, but he ended up using his credit card for the
Credit
rent a
card.
car.
Yep.
But it would have been much funnier. I always thought it. With just watching this, I thought it was just going to be even more funny to find out that John Candy is the one that stole his car, his rental car, not his card, and used his card to rent a car. That makes sense.
I find it I do think that would have been cool, and I do find it peculiar the way they threw all these things together in this movie and the weird little by chance or coincidence things would happen. Like at the beginning of the movie when when he just gets to the taxi and he's trying to pay that guy to for his taxi, and all of a sudden John Candy is pulling away with his thing. But you saw the before they even got to that sequence, there was the trunk on the curb. Steve
Mhm.
Martin notices it on the ground. He's like, "Oh, that's interesting," and nothing thinks nothing of it. And all of a sudden, that's in the back end of that taxi, and on the ground. I guess when it pulls away in the puddle, there's two shower curtains, or the curtain rings. Sorry, which is what John Candy sells.
So here's one of my big problems with this movie. They rent a car. When he rents a car, they are in St. Louis. Okay, St. Louis to Chicago is only like 4.5 hours. So why would you not have your wife come pick you up in St. Louis? First off, you know that would be one option. Second off, okay, fine. You're not going to ask your wife to come pick you up, drive 4 hours to come pick you up. You're going to rent a car. Okay, they rent this car. They drive all day. They drive all night. They drive all day again. They drive so much between St. Louis and fucking Chicago. I could have got to fucking California in the time it took them to drive from St. Louis to fucking
Listen,
Chicago.
we've
Th- th-
talked about this,
It's
JP. You're
fucking
being
painful
over
for
and
it's
yeah,
fucking painful for me, man. I drive that trip multiple times a year,
but
and it fucking drives me nuts.
but then there's no movie. So like this is it's what it is. It sucks. I get it.
I will say in the night driving scene, my favorite scene of the fucking movie is in that
The seat
is it
adjusting.
well, the seat adjusting, but where that one's great too. But where he drives through the middle of the trucks and scuffs in between them, and
Oh, the skeletons.
it shows the skeletons. Then it shows John Candy dressed like Satan, like that. If we had more of that in this film, oh my
Yes,
god,
I
this film
agree.
would have been amazing. Like
I agree.
that whole shot was so good. I was just like, I even wrote my notes. Why is there not more shots like this in this movie?
You know what's even funnier about this? So I was reading through some of the trivia aspects of this, and I found out who originally was supposed to be cast in these two roles. So Dell's role was supposed to be John Travolta, and Steve Martin's role was going to be played by Tom Hanks. However, Tom Hanks was cast. He was filming Big, and he wasn't able to make the time work. So the only reason these roles
Tom
didn't happen,
Tom Hanks made the correct choice.
uh, Yeah, absolutely. Big's amazing and a far better movie than this. But still, it was interesting to imagine those 2 characters playing off each other, at that time frame in their career, 'cause, like, that was kind of I like thinking about those things and trying to imagine those guys doing those things.
Yeah. Well, and, and Tom Hanks was known for comedy back then, doing, The Man with One Red Shoe and Turner and Hooch and he
Burbs!
Burbs. God, I love the Burbs. The
I do
Burbs
too.
so good. But he was known as a comedic actor. He didn't become a serious actor until what, Philadelphia?
Yeah, I think that was his first big role like that. Do you know who else was in this movie but got cut?
I do not.
Jerry Ryan, none other than 7 of 9 from Star Trek: Next Generation. So it's interesting. So Jerry
Why
Ryan,
would
she's
they
in the
cut? Why would they cut that
I'll tell
amazing
you why,
woman's?
because she was only 19 at the time, and she was on the bus sequence, and she couldn't stop like, she was cracking up, dying laughing because of Steve Martin's lines, and she couldn't contain herself, so Hughes literally put somebody else in place of her on the thing and cut her out.
Wow, because I
Yeah.
love her. I love her too. Like
I
she's
do too, but
great.
that's kind of hilarious that she got kicked off for for laughing too much, so
And
I thought that was kinda
I
cool.
love her so much in Picard. She's so good in Picard.
She's good in Picard, she's good in I love Star Trek: Next Generation too, so, like, I love all of it. So, couple other little fun bits if you'd like to hear.
Sure, enlighten me.
So what do you know what modern movie, like, in the last 2 years has a tie to this movie?
Hmm. I do not.
Dead Deadpool and Wolverine. So, in the Wasteland Zone, the actual car, the burnt up version of the rental car, and Dell's trunk are in the sequence from Deadpool and Wolverine because Ryan Reynolds loves this movie so much.
I'm gonna have to go back and find that news
I
in there because that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice little way to do a little throwback and give a little love, so
Um, so I mean, we're already kind of getting towards the end of this film, and they're 3 hours. Then the following next day, they're still 3 hours. I wrote this in my notes. They're still, mind you. Do you remember a
oh
minute
my
ago?
goodness.
The day before they drove all night, all day, all night, and then the next day, 4.5 hour drive,
They're
St.
going very
Louis,
slow,
St.
okay?
Louis, Chicago. Well, the next day, they're still 3 hours from Chicago. The next day, when the night now, mind you, the night before when the car caught on fire, there was only the sign said they were 100 miles from Chicago. Nothing makes sense in this fucking travel timeline.
That's probably because, no, I don't have a reason. I just planes,
So
trains, and automobiles, okay?
they get to Chicago. They get to the actual um the rapid or whatever you would call it, the trains in Chicago, and they go their separate ways. Steve Martin gets on it and goes, you have a happy Thanksgiving. I'm going home, and gets on the train. He After he leaves, he goes through this montage of all this fun stuff that he did with John Candy, and he turns around and comes back, and you find John Candy is still at that little train station inside, just sitting there. And this is where you find out that John
Whoa, whoa,
Candy's
whoa, hold on, hold on, hold on. There's deeper moments here, hold on.
is there.
There is. So
Okay.
John Candy, so what I took away from his character in this movie was I thought through the entirety of this movie that John Candy's wife was still alive and he was heading back to her.
I was going to say all this.
Well, but I have a theory about the trunk. I think the trunk has her pillow and her belongings and her effects in the trunk, and that's why he sleeps with that pillow.
Probably.
He sets up and for I'm guessing most people watching this have seen this film at this point in their life, but if you haven't, like JP and I watched for the first time, he sets up a frame, a picture of his wife next to his nightstand, and Steve Martin's character in this is he's a total asshole. He loses his mind. The first hotel sequence on John Candy tells him all the things that bother him about him, like, just snaps and starts venting to him. And John Candy's like, You know what? My wife loves me and I know who I am." And that's kinda where it stands. So that's you're like, "Okay, the wife's there. She's cool. She's good." I don't think anything of it again. Fast forward through all these little things and the neediness that Candy's character of Dell presents. When we get to this moment and this little flashback sequence that JP was just going to go into, it means all the more. So I'll let you go from there, JP.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting ready to say was throughout this film, you see the picture of the wife, you actually hear John Candy say at some point, he's like, I haven't been home in a long time. Um, so this montage happens with Steve Martin, and he's playing all this stuff through his head, all the good things, all the bad things, everything that was said. He goes back, he finds Dale, John Candy's character, in the train station, sits down and goes, what are you still doing here? And that's when John Candy tells him, he's like, well, I don't have a home. And at this point you find out that he just travels around. He finds people to latch onto and travel around with because his wife died 8 years prior. And so he doesn't have a home. He hasn't been home since his wife passed away. So it gives a whole new dynamic to the whole film at this point. A sad dynamic, and so at, now you've got Steve Martin being very sympathetic and bringing Dale home with him for Thanksgiving and bringing him in, making him part of his family. It's a very John Hughes. It becomes very John Hughes at this point.
Yeah, and there's deeper elements here too, because what you have is two people, two strangers becoming friends, two strangers whose lives are changed by the symbiosis of their friendship, if you will. So Steve Martin's character is as I said before, he's an asshole and he's got a lot of learning to do how to talk to people, how to deal with people. He's a little bit like a lot of us, honestly, because he's um, processing internally with patience and tries to keep it all contained and keep his composure. But in those moments of snapping, like at the rental lady with the car, with John Candy in the hotel room, all these little moments add up. And he does it to a few other characters in this movie as well. And then you've got the flip of it where you have the very definition of the word masking with John Candy, who he doesn't outwardly admit what's going on. You don't know that his wife has been dead for the last 8 years, except for subtle little hints that come into that montage that Steve Martin puts together. And I found those elements fascinating more than the movie itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think the ending of this movie is way more fascinating than the movie itself.
For sure.
Yeah, and Martin Short, Steve Martin. I'm not getting any of these guys
All
names
these
right.
Martins.
Too many fucking Martins. Um, they get home. He gets home. His family's there. He's introducing them to Dale. His wife's coming down the steps, and she even says, "Oh, you must be Dale. I've heard so much about you." And then it goes to a shot of Dale, John Candy, his face, and he's smiling. And freeze frame, credits roll.
Well, there's
Very,
there,
very, very John Hughes. It's a very John Hughes ending.
but so that's a standard ending with John Candy in most of his movies. There's always this like dramatic pause, a weird smile, grin, focus on his face, and then goes out. Um, and what I found more particular was it was a moment of compassion or love between Steve Martin and his wife, and John Candy almost was like, "I'm happy somebody still has that." Yeah, it was almost one of those things because you see him grip a little bit tighter too.
Yeah.
So um, real quick, I wanted to talk about a couple other things. So the exterior of that aircraft, the airplane in this, these are just random fun facts. But the exterior of the aircraft is a reuse from the movie Airplane. So that is the same structure they used for the set with the movie Airplane. So I love Airplane. That's a great movie, classic. And then the other cool thing was this is something that I like that Hughes does. So the spontaneity of the rental woman with Edie McClurg, that part is genuinely awesome. But then this one was a little bit better. So Hughes directed Dylan Baker, who played Owen, to spit in his hand before he shakes Steve Martin's character's hand.
Mhm.
Because I guess they had filmed a greeting several times or so, and it just wasn't clicking. Nothing was good about it. And so Hughes asked Dylan Baker to do this. He does it. And when you see on screen the disgust from Steve Martin, it's genuine. It's actually genuine. And I guess the whole cast and crew laughed as he ran to the bathroom to wash his hands afterwards, and they kept it and cut it. That was it. They're like, that's a wrap.
That makes sense because that was one of my favorite scenes. That was the Gus scene, with his
Yeah.
wife. So yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting.
Oh, did you look at box office or budget?
I did.
Oh, okay, so I won't look at it.
All right. So what would you say the budget was for this?
I mean, we're looking at John Hughes, and this is kind of the height of John Hughes. You got two big actors. I'm gonna go what I feel is probably pretty high for this movie, but I'm doing it based on the fact that this is John Hughes and the height of John Hughes and that John Candy and Steve Martin,
But
kind of
remember
like that.
1987.
Yeah, I know, kind of that height of their career. I'm gonna say 15 million.
You're right on. If my handwriting is correct, I can't see if I put a 3 or a 5. So it's either 13 or 15 million.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't imagine there was a lot of money involved making this movie. I think a lot more of that money was John Hughes and the cast at the time.
Yeah. And what do you think for the gross?
I'm gonna guess. I don't remember this movie doing. I don't remember this being the huge movie. I'm gonna sit pretty low, and I'm gonna say 20. I'm gonna say 22 million.
You're quite off. And so for me, the only reason I checked it out as a kid was because the marketing was so intense, and so all I effing heard about was planes, trains, and automobiles, planes, trains, and automobiles, and it was just nonstop. So I did check it out for that reason. I was hoping for like I had. Do you remember the movie Throw Mama from the Train?
Hmm.
So that movie, like I for some reason mixed the two up in my head as a kid. And I was like, oh, if it's like that movie, it's gonna be hilarious. And yeah, no, it wasn't. So, but 49.5 mil. So almost
Okay,
50 million.
okay. Yeah, that's a lot more than what I actually would have thought this movie would have made. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it didn't do too bad at all.
Uh, ratings.
Well, I guess well, you kind of chose it out of the selections I gave you, so I'll go first. Why
Okay.
not?
Well, either way, it don't matter.
You
You
know,
want to flip
it's
a coin?
so no, it's all right. I'll do it. For this one, like I said, there's a lot of elements that are just spectacular with this movie. Cameos, the thing that Hughes does with his characters and spontaneity, and you know, pulling things out of nowhere. I appreciate that. I appreciate the few one lines of humor. Especially love the car scene, like JP was talking about with the skeletons and the devil moment. I think all these things were solid, definitely. And there is a classic element. This movie has definitely been noted as an influence to a lot of current modern day actors. But for me, as a first time watch, as a guy in his 40s, I saw part of it as a kid and it wasn't too, there. And in this instance, I'm kind of in the same boat. So altogether, though, it balances out and it came across at a flat 3 nerds for me.
Okay, so here we go. Like, there's a lot of scenes in here I loved. I mean, you've heard me talk about them. The Gus scene. I love the Gus scene. I love the skeleton scene. Um, some of the banter back and forth I really enjoyed. But man, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna flat say it right now, just off the rip. Worst John Hughes movie I believe I've ever seen.
And it's on the bottom of my John Candy list.
Yeah, and I was going there too. It's on the bottom of my John Candy, probably the worst John Candy film I've ever seen. Steve Martin, I don't know. I I can safely say there's a lot of Steve Martin films that I have not watched to say that this would be at the bottom of his films list. But I can say this is definitely the worst John Hughes film. This is definitely the worst John Candy film. I would rather watch what was it, Wagons West with John Candy? Or was what was the
Jesus.
what was the other one? Canadian Bacon? Um,
I forgot about that. Jesus.
I mean, these films are way superior to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. and I don't like this film. There's scenes in it I fucking love in this film. You know, and we talked about them. We talked about those scenes, but everything in between those scenes was a fucking bore. And this movie is not good. And anybody who says that this is one of their favorite comedies of all time need to reevaluate the comedies that they're watching because this movie's awful. I'm just
S-
throwing it out
s-
there.
So, and go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, no, no. You still got to do your rating and everything. So I'll
Okay.
talk after.
So my rating, I am rating this horrible. I am going to sit this one as not only the worst John Hughes film, the worst John Candy film. It is one of the worst comedies I've seen ever.
Wow.
Maybe not the worst, but it is up there with one of the worst comedies I've ever seen in my life. And I am putting this at a 1.3 nerds.
Damn. So I only went as high as I did because of the influential aspect to certain actors, other directors, the way that's been noted, and there are some amazing moments in it. But yeah, it so and to further JP's comment, it is one of the worst comedies. But I will say this: the movie that's us saying that we're not people who are just like I can see how anyone would say, okay, well, it's not a modern film, so it needs to be looked at as an 87 film. JP and I look at all the classics. We look at the other movies that we've seen in the older movies, and we understand that the technology wasn't there for advanced CGI or anything weird that happens. And this
My
movie just
my favorite scene in the movie was a fake looking skeleton and John Candy in a devil costume, and it worked. That was like the best scene in the film. You didn't need CGI. It's
that you know
just
what? That almost gave me like the bonkers moments in Beetlejuice vibes.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it had some solid structure in that 30-second sequence that it was.
The thing that really up and that's why I rated this film so low is everything on paper for this film. This film should have been amazing. You have John Hughes, you got Steve Martin, you've got John Candy, you have so many great cameos. This film should have
Oh yeah,
been like fucking a gut buster, start to
we didn't
finish,
even
but
talk
it's
about
not.
the cameo of Home Slice from Spinal Tap as the
Yeah,
sheriff.
yeah, because he played the sheriff. Yeah, yeah,
Like, I mean, the cameos were set up for success here. The small bits that JP and I have talked about, excellent parts, but man, that downtime and them finding out who each other is and all that, it's really boring. Like, just wasn't for me.
yeah, yeah. Like this is not one I ever want to revisit again. Like it's just
So I will revisit it on one condition. We get the 2-hour cut so I can see what was pulled out of it to give it a fair assessment. Because there could have been
fair,
some quality stuff there.
fair. If we get a different cut of this film, I'll give it another shot. But
Okay.
I don't know if another. It would have to be a completely new cut because
Yeah.
even if you add in the stuff that's I feel that's missing, you still got that bog shit in between. It's like I don't know if another cut would fix this film.
Yeah, no, and from my understanding, the speech that John Candy does, it's towards the end with all the other good stuff we were talking about. So
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this is not a recommend. Not a recommend. So guys, whenever you hear me doing my recommends on the reels, you want to know when I don't recommend a film? Well, here you are. I don't recommend this one.
that's fair.
Recommendations though. We got anything we'll recommend?
Jeez.
I
Yes.
got something unless you're ready.
Mine's not a movie. Mine's a series, though. I am on the second episode of Welcome to Derry, and guys, don't don't wait on this one. If unless you're waiting till the end to binge it all together, this is honestly a TV series of horror at its finest. It's great.
I've not started it yet. I think I was going to wait until it all gets out and then I'm going to just binge it.
I wanted
Um,
to do that, but my wife was getting antsy, and I was like, "Let's just go. Let's do it."
yeah, yeah. I'm not. I'm going to watch it. It's just I think I'm going to wait. I can wait on that one, but I'm going to watch it.
But then when you watch it, you're gonna be like, "Well, why did I wait?"
Well, no, because I'll just binge it and I'll get it all
Yeah.
out at one time. So, and I had this sometimes unless I'm just really into it. If I start a series that they're releasing episode by episode, sometimes I I I kind of get lost in other stuff, and then I forget to go back and finish it. So sometimes it's better for me to wait and just binge it.
What's your recommendation?
So since we rated a 80s film, an 80s comedy, I'm going to recommend an 80s comedy, and a much better 80s comedy than the one we just reviewed. I am talking John Cusack's Better Off Dead, because why not? It's a better film, it's a funny film, and it's John Cusack. I mean, the claymation scene in it, the Camaro, the everything about this, the Asian race car drivers, like it's I love this movie. The iconic line, "I want my $2" with the paper boy. Fun movie. Better Off Dead.
Nice. All right. Well, that brings us to a close on planes, trains, and automobiles as we get you ready for your Thanksgiving season.
So, CineNerdsPodcast.com, all your CineNerds needs. All of our links. You can share us, review us, write us, do
One
all that
stop
stuff.
shop.
Yeah, it's all there. There's I mean, for God's sake, there's even a store there. What can they find on that store?
What they've heard before. I won't beat a dead horse, but it helps us and another small local business. And I live in my hoodie and my coffee mug.
All right. Next week, Thanksgiving night, Thursday, next Thursday, we are reviewing my pick.
His pick.
Thanks Killing. It's happening. I made
Yeah.
Ryan watch Thanks Killing. And so be sure to be here at 8 o'clock. After you've stuffed your belly with turkey, don't fall asleep listening to us. Stay up and watch or listen to us talk about the film Thanks Killing.
Nice. We'll see you then, guys.
Later, guys.
Later.